President Biden has just made some bold statements that affect Social Security, SSI, SSDI, VA, and if these statements are true and the consequences are real, that means a lot of people, over 30 million people could be affected, even up to 70 million people could be affected on all those programs that I just mentioned. So we're going to go over articles like this, how Social Security benefits could be cut, and how President Biden is saying that the Republicans are manufacturing a crisis over the debt limit and saying goodbye to job growth, with the jobs report just coming out, which was pretty positive. So President Biden made some pretty big claims, which I'll mention. I'll go over detail, show the quotes of what he said. Also, we'll talk about the debt limit, where Manchin stands on it, since he's kind of flip-flopping back and forth, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. As we're on the cusp of the first debt default in U.S. history, just less than 3 weeks away, according to the Treasury Secretary, saying that a June 1st deadline, if not met, the U.S. will go into default. What does that mean? That means everything will just pretty much crumble. At least that's what some experts are saying. But President Biden said, say goodbye to job growth and low unemployment if the debt ceiling isn't lifted. So President Joe Biden used strong April jobs report to warn that a failure to raise the debt ceiling would result in sweeping job losses. And the economy added 253,000 jobs last month, far outpacing Wall Street estimates of 180,000. This news just came out yesterday. And then lifting the debt ceiling is necessary for government to cover existing spending commitments already approved by Congress and the president. Some big statements that were made here. I'll go over some of them, saying just today they're reporting 250,000 new jobs. The last thing this country needs after all we've been through is a manufactured crisis, and that's what this is, a manufactured crisis. That's what it is from the beginning to end. It's a manufactured crisis driven by MAGA Republicans in Congress. So bold statement there. Also, what President Biden said is they're two separate issues, too. Let's get it straight. They're trying to hold the debt hostage for us to agree to some draconian cuts, magnificently difficult and damaging cuts. But unfortunately, they're threatening to undo all this progress by letting us default. So a big statement just said there how Biden says Republicans are manufacturing a crisis over debt limit. Now, when it comes to the debt limit, we're just hearing a bunch of back and forth. Both sides are blaming the other for not doing anything. As you can see, some name calling here, saying that the big cuts to the budget, which pretty much affects everybody on Social Security. They're saying that President Biden also made another big claim, which I'll get into in a moment. But Social Security might cut your benefit, but you could still snag a higher one by doing this, just to save you some time. Basically, this article is saying Social Security benefits could get slashed, but it's saying wait until you claim your benefits or create a savings account, which doesn't really help you now if you're relying on Social Security. But when it comes to Social Security being cut, we're hearing it could be cut in 10 years, but if the U.S. defaults, it could be a lot sooner. And there may not be any Social Security, may not be any SSI, SSDI, VA. Speaking of VA, Veterans Affairs, House Republican threatens to cut VA budget over agencies warning about budget cuts. Now, this is a claim from the Democrats saying that there's a major cut, $30 million cut, but is that true? So GOP lawmaker calls for investigation into Biden's VA for shamelessly lying about the debt limit bill. So Republicans have put out a bill, and the GOP is outraged by the administration's claim that their bill will cut VA by 22% or $30 million. And Republicans are saying that is not true. Veterans Affairs Chairman Mike Bost, who spoke with McDonough same day, said he had to figure out how to calm down to talk to him, and that he was disappointed by Biden officials' claim that Republicans' bill would cut the VA budget by 22%, saying Joe Biden and Democrats are so desperate to cover up for Joe Biden's weaknesses and absolute failures on the debt ceiling negotiations that they're shamelessly lying about veterans' benefits and politicizing the VA to do so. This is unfortunately nothing new for Democrats. So as you can see, big statements on both sides, and this is unfortunately what a lot is going on in Congress. More of a distraction, just saying he said this, she said that, and going back and forth, calling each other names, saying that their other side is making cuts or damaging, the VA, or someone's cutting Social Security. And unfortunately, we're not seeing any action on any of these claims or threats. So when it comes to something actually being done, we're not seeing any legislation, no talks, no negotiations. So at this point, it's almost as if nothing happened. Kind of like if you're you're watching a movie and all this crazy stuff happened, then you find out it was just in a dream, so nothing actually happened. The plot is not moving forward. That's exactly what's happening now. The plot is not moving forward in Congress, just a bunch of talk, no real legislation, no votes. So it seems like this is all just one big distraction and and a big headache from maybe what's really going on behind the closed doors. But at this point, it seems like nothing's going on. Just wanted to let you know the truth of what's going on with that. Just still want to tell you, give you the reports, let you know what's going on in terms of he said, she said, but no action being taken. Take a look at what Joe Manchin has to say about this.
Okay. You have called it a mistake for Biden and top Democrats to demand to raise the debt ceiling first before negotiating a spending cut deal. Biden now has a meeting set for May 9th with Republicans, but the White House still says no negotiations. Is the U.S. headed for default?
We're not going to default. I truly believe that with all my heart, that we will not default. We know how detrimental that would be, how many average Americans are going to get hurt so bad by us defaulting because of a political toxic atmosphere that we're in and just not able to do our job. That's not part of it. But to say you're not going to negotiate, when this representative form of democracy we have is all about negotiating, where the United States Senate is the most deliberate body in the world. How can you be a deliberate body if you're not deliberating and talking? So it's just who we are. And I think the president knows that as well as anybody else. He's been in this Senate for many, many years. And he's negotiated many pieces of legislation, including the debt ceiling. So let's just hope for this. They're going to be together pretty soon, next week or so. And maybe you'll see the grown-ups in the room do what needs to be done for our country and put politics aside. I hope so, because I think you can't sustain the runaway debt that we have. You should be looking at how we accumulated so much debt so quickly and find out that we don't continue making that mistake without hurting anybody.
So do you think he will end up negotiating?
I hope. I'm very hopeful for that. I asked about 90 days ago, and they had their first meeting. And now it's time to be serious about having not only a meeting, but a negotiating of putting what's on the table. How do you know? I mean, we're not talking about taking a meat cleaver and slicing things, but, we've had more spending in the last 10 years. And in the last 20 years, Pamela, we've accumulated more debt than at any time before. For the past 21 years, we have spent more money than we brought in. You can't run your household that way. You can't run your private life. You can't run any business, small or large, that way. How can we continue to sustain accumulating all this debt? And who's going to pay the real price? Look around at your children and grandchildren.
You have criticized Biden on a host of issues beyond the debt ceiling. He has announced that he is running for a second term. Are you backing him?
I'm not involved in any politics right now, my own or anybody else's. I won't be for this entire year. What we've just talked about.
Do you support him running for a second time for president? Do you support that?
I'm not involved in any types of politics, nor will I say what. I'm doing my job, and I think everyone else should do the same. We have an awful lot of work. We shouldn't be facing this theatrical debt ceiling. We should be looking at how do we do our job. We've got permitting coming up that we can't do and meet the needs and challenges we have in our country unless we're facing and fixing the permitting process in America. So I'm functioning on that. As soon as you say you're doing this, you support this or whoever, everything comes at you at such a way that you can't even functionally do your job the way you should. And my job is the most important thing for the people of West Virginia right now.
But the bottom line is you are not publicly throwing your support behind Biden. What do you think about the fact that Biden...
I'm not putting any support anywhere. I'm not talking about anybody's election. I'm not involved in anybody's election, nor will I be, including my own, until I finish my job at least the end of this year. Only in America, Pamela, do you start the next election the day after the last election. We've got a long time. Think about it. We have a year and a half to go. Let us do what we need to do right now.
What are your thoughts on Joe Manchin? Is still staying in the middle, taking a side? Do you agree, disagree with him? Let me know down in the comments below. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. And what I was gonna say is just enjoy the moments right now. Don't be like maybe I'm not good for this. Just do it. Something, if you want to do it, then you can. Because it's just a one-time thing. Because you should always do something now, then always later. Because then it might not be the right time, and it might not be the right ending. You might have, like, people or, like...
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. So today, Bella and Kalea, my two daughters, are going to a cheerleading camp, which is like 3 hours. Never done it before. And so yeah, we're going to check it out and then we're going to go see the show. So maybe tomorrow I could show you the little show that they do. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, hopefully you have a great rest of your weekend day, your Saturday. If you want to check out any of my other videos, my new pickleball videos that I'm able to play now with my ankle recovered, you can click right up here. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.